Okay, let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Please share this broadcast with your friends and colleagues. My name is Rick Ulfik, and I'm founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. There you can learn more about We the World. We're in day 3 of the 16th anniversary of 11 Days of Global Unity, September 11th through the 21st, which is the International Day of Peace. Back in 2004, We the World brought global partners together to launch 11 Days. And this year, 11 Days of Global Unity is concurrent with the Up Convergence and Peace Weekend, with an extraordinary alliance of organizations, including Unity Earth, the Compassion Games, the Sign Network, We the World, and over 100 groups that I think are part of an unprecedented unity movement, which of course is more important now than ever. To learn more and participate in 11 Days of Global Unity, go to 11daysofglobalunity.org. And the 11 is a numeral, 11daysofglobalunity.org. Each year, We the World hosts the 11 Days of Global Unity TeleSummit with 11 powerful dialogues on each of the 11 campaigns for change. They're happening September 11th through the 21st, each day starting at 1 p.m. USA Eastern Time. Today is day 3 of 11 Days of Global Unity, and today the focus is on the theme of environment. We have an amazing group of people to talk with about We the World's climate collaboratory and unique and engaging ways to address the climate crisis. We have today Sue Blythe, Ugoji Easy, Jennison Kipp, and Jennifer Taylor. Let's start with Sue Blythe, who can give us an overview of the Climate Collaboratory and the folks we will be hearing from today. Sue Blythe is founder of the Climate Collaboratory, a pilot project of We the World's Campaign for the Environment, and the University of Florida Extension. She is doing what she can to make a sustainable, just, and peaceful world for her 8 grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. Welcome to the broadcast, Sue.
Well, thank you so much, Rick. It's a real honor to be here today. Congratulations on another, well, this is your 16th of the 11 Days of Global Unity. And so it's really my honor to introduce the 3 women who have come together in what we call now the Gardens of Global Unity. And here we go into the Gardens of the Environment, where we're planting seed ideas and growing them from vision to reality. And you've mentioned the Climate Collaboratory. That's what the seed idea that we're growing today. And I've brought together some wonderful people to help us understand that. The inspiration for all of this really came from my 2-year-old grandson. When my now 14-year-old grandson was just 2, I considered him the best traveled 2-year-old I'd ever met. So for his birthday, 3rd birthday, I worked with my dear cousin to create a quilt that had the map of the world, so we could put little gold stars on all the places that the family had visited. And around that map were patches. Each person in our family, their family, had one patch with a little symbol. And so it was for the mom and dad, their sisters and brothers, their parents, which is me and my generation, and then all the way to the little boy's great grandparents. And so they were all alive at that time. Well, what happened then is that as I'm working with little 3-year-old Jonah at that time, I realized here we are telling stories, and everybody has a story to tell. And together we have a bigger story to tell. that was true in our little family, and it's true of our human family. And so really that's the way that this whole thing started. And what we're doing now is telling the stories of people all over, starting in Gainesville, Florida, where I live, and working with people like Jennison Kipp, that you'll meet in just a minute. And then taking it to a larger conversation about the climate and taking care of our own communities and our world with helping to create a more sustainable, just, and peaceful future. And so the idea is that we are part of this global network, and everybody has a story. We're telling the story of the human family. And let's see, I was inspired again by the United Nations 100-day countdown to the International Day of Peace. This was last year starting in June, going through the International Day of Peace in September. And so I met recently a friend, my new friend, who is Ugoji Eze, and she is at the United Nations. And when I learned that she had actually attended that event where they named the International Day of Peace, the theme was Climate Action for Peace. And so I invited Ugoji to come and tell us her story about the work that she does, and a little bit about that day when she heard about that Climate Action for Peace. So Ugoji, I'd like to invite you in to tell a little bit.
Oh, thank you so much, Sue. And once again, thank you so much, Rick, for inviting me to speak. And thank you both for your leadership. Yes, indeed, I was there last year when the theme was Climate Action for Peace. I believe the Secretary General said, this is a battle of our lives and a race against time. We can win, and we must win the race for climate change. And it was followed by the Climate Action Summit on the 23rd of September 2019, in which I was fortunate enough to participate. And the outcome was the implementation of the Paris Agreement and the pivotal shift towards a cleaner, safer, and a green future. Now, it's all very well speaking of a cleaner, safer, and greener future. It takes on a different meaning now in view of the current ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Climate change, as I've said, is here to stay, and we really must put it at the forefront of the international agenda, and to ensure that the COVID-19 pandemic does not put it at the back burner. I also, in view of that, hosted an event which did focus on climate change, but it was related to Africa and the Caribbean. That was the 23rd of July this year. It was Building Back Resilient, Risk-Informed COVID-19 Recovery and Rehabilitation and Strengthening Resilience to Climate Change-Related Disasters in Africa and the Caribbean. Now, when one speaks of climate change, one tends not to take into consideration the African continent, the Caribbean region, and also small island and developing states. As a woman of mixed heritage, both from the African continent, Nigeria, and the Caribbean region, Cuba and Jamaica, this issue of climate change is very personal indeed to me. When I wrote the concept note 1.5 years ago, prior to the onset of the COVID-19 global pandemic, who would have thought that we're facing these challenges? Climate change, as I've said, is here to stay and indeed will be with us for the foreseeable future. We must take the issue seriously, as it has a tremendous impact on our livelihoods, and indeed on Africa Agenda 2063 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda 2030. And we must ensure that no one indeed is left behind. Now, the objectives of the said high-level virtual event was to articulate possible solutions to the effects of climate-related disasters of people in vulnerable situations and how to address these challenges, and to reflect on how to ensure that the effects of COVID-19 and the increasing frequency of climate-related disasters do not result in leaving people from the affected countries and community behind in the global efforts to achieve Agenda 2030 and other global and regional development agendas, and also make connections among various development frameworks, including the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Samar Pathway, the Paris Agreement, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, in particular goals 1, 11, and 13. The expected outcomes of the said high-level virtual UN meeting was to raise awareness, augment commitment, deepen dialogue among member states, including representatives of the most affected African, Caribbean, and small island development states and development partners, as well as key stakeholders on mainstreaming resilience to climate change-related disasters in the COVID recovery and rehabilitation plans, and to synthesize views expressed by participants and present the key messages as possible policy recommendations for mitigating climate change-related disasters and addressing the consequences of climate change on the socio-economic live wire of communities. Again, I say, as climate change is here, we are indeed in the battle for our lives, and it's a race against time. We can win, and we must win. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you for that, Ugoji. And gosh, it just, the work that you're doing is so important and so parallel to the work that is happening here in Florida.
Absolutely.
It's really my honor and privilege to introduce you to my dear friend, Jennison Kipp. Jennison and I met probably 4 years ago at it's called Imagining Climate Change.
Oh, okay.
Putting yourself into the future and looking back at this time. And so we started at that time a conversation that's been going all these 4 years. And
Wow.
So when this Climate Action for Peace was named as our theme for the year, we agreed, Jennison and I, that we would commit to doing a program, a pilot program, with We the World and the University of Florida Extension. So Jennison, could you come in and tell us a little bit about that? The work you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Sue. And thank you, Rick. And it's wonderful to meet you, Ugoji.
Hello, Jennifer.
And thank you, Jennifer, also for joining us. Everyone will get to hear from Dr. Jennifer Taylor after me. I think Sue will give an introduction to her as well. But I would like to start by saying my name is Jennison Kipp, as Sue said. And I think fundamentally at the end of the day, I think of myself as a global citizen. And that's what brings the meaning, the passion, the inspiration to the work that I do. I recognize that climate change, it's real, it's here now, today. It's not just on our doorsteps, but it's in our homes, our schools, our businesses. It's in our sanctuaries and our places of worship. It's in our wild spaces and all of, the natural world. It's in all of our communities around the globe. And as a global citizen, I feel a passion and a responsibility for acting as quickly as possible on the climate emergency so that we can leave not just a livable planet, but a planet that can provide a quality of life to our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, like that we've been able to enjoy. As Ugoji said, we are all, inextricably connected. And I truly believe that collaboration from the grassroots up and, at a global scale is the key to finding the solutions, implementing the solutions at the scale and pace necessary to meet and tackle this just, true challenge of our day. I feel like the climate emergency connects us all with a sense of urgency and responsibility. I am trained as an environmental economist, which often sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. The two do go hand in hand. And fundamentally, our economy relies on a healthy environment and equitable allocation of scarce resources. So as an environmental economist, I've been working on addressing sustainability and climate change issues since about the mid-90s. I'm currently part of a national team of climate fellows who are exploring the work being done by the Cooperative Extension Service around the country. So in each state with land-grant universities and their extension agents or extension educators who are located, in Florida, for example, we have 67 counties and we have cooperative extension agents in every county throughout Florida working at the community level on issues like sustainability and climate change and agriculture. And so this project that I'm doing currently with a group of climate fellows is essentially trying to inventory the cooperative extension system programs that are related to climate change and extreme weather, understand where the people, the resources, the programs are having the greatest impact, and trying to identify those gems, those jewels that we can amplify and replicate around the country so that we can move faster toward greater impact for both mitigation and adaptation. Critically, we recognize, and I say we, cooperative extension, that this issue and the education that we do, the community collaborations that we are engaged in, fundamentally has to address issues of equity, inclusion, environmental justice, and social justice. And so we have a lot of community development extension agents working on just that, but it's a fundamental challenge for all of us that we in extension are trying to do a better job at this. With that inventory, I'll now tell you my position. So I work with the University of Florida with their Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences and their Cooperative Extension Service. I am the state coordinator of a program called Sustainable Floridians, which has been around for about 10 years. And, and as Sue said, we're growing that now. So we're 10 years in and we're growing it as part of the Climate Collaboratory. And Sustainable Floridians is designed to help individual citizens take responsibility for protecting Earth's limited resources, but also to, at a community scale, put together community action plans for sustainability and individual action plans so that we can move the science and move what we know into real action that addresses, reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, as well as helping our communities adapt to the profound changes that we're experiencing as a result of climate change. There are 3 threads that connect the program of Sustainable Floridians, and we call them footprints, handprints, and connections. And so the footprints component, we talk about, our direct impacts on the natural world, but also on social systems. So understanding things like our vehicle miles traveled, what are our ecological footprints that we have? And usually, typically these are negative, but they can be positive. And that's where the handprints come in. Handprints are the good that we can do together and as individuals. And then the connections piece brings all of these often siloed issues like food, energy and water and landscaping and community capacity building. It brings all of these issues together to help participants of the course think critically about how the system actually functions and where we can intervene to have more than, you know, just an incremental impact. So with Sustainable Floridians and the Florida Climate Conversation, we are launching through the Climate Collaboratory next month, beginning in October. We're going to be offering a monthly course that's a new version of Sustainable Floridians and the Florida Climate Conversation to Action, which is a Conversation to Action program. And this is a climate collaboratory pilot project with We the World and the Florida Cooperative Extension Service. And so we hope to also, as part of the Florida Extension Service, our partner in that is Florida A&M University. And you'll get to hear from Dr. Jennifer Taylor about how FAMU hopes to contribute to the climate collaboratory as we move forward. I just want to say that I'm a mom also. And I think that's important because all of us, whether we have biological children of our own or not, you know, we are representatives for Mother Earth. And I feel like, you know, as a mom, it's at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to our fellow humans and our fellow global citizens to tackle this issue. So I just want to thank everyone listening and everyone on the call for your commitment to this most critical issue. I look forward to working with you all. And Sue, I think you're muted. So I'll mute myself and pass it back to you.
Okay, thank you. So when you talk about being a mom, you know, as a mother of 3 and grandmother of 8, I have, I always, in fact, Rick introduced me as saying that this is the passion that I have for this topic is from inspiration from my grandchildren. And I always say that I'm working for their great grandchildren. And I know in the indigenous wisdom, we speak of 7 generations. Taking what we do today has to work for 7 generations. And so we're finding ways to work together in this collaboration that's now possible globally as well as locally is part of that. So I'd like to just take it the next level. What is happening is the University of Florida is going to be playing some sustainable world games. And one of these is to challenge other universities in Florida to participate in this climate conversation to action. And we'll have some ways of keeping score and leveling up and doing all kinds of fun things. We have many games that are already invented, and we will be creating new ones. I think a new one was born this morning on our children's program. And so we'll be doing that. But the idea is, here we come to the Florida universities, and we're saying it's time to play the Sustainable World Games, and who will help us? So I'm going to reach out and ask if Jennifer Taylor could come in. Dr. Taylor is at Florida A&M University, and we pass this to you, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Oh,
Perfectly.
okay, great.
Yes.
All right. I was unsure. Thank you. And I'd like to give thanks to Rick and Sue and Jennison for your leadership and all the great things that everyone on the panel are doing. And for allowing me to participate with you in this great discussion and event. I am the granddaughter of a sharecropper. My mother was raised on a farm. That farm is a farm that we now farm. It's a certified organic farm, and I'm a small scale farmer. We grow vegetables and fruit all year. A small scale located in Georgia. Small scale farm located in Georgia. At Florida A&M University, I am coordinator of small farm programs, associate professor there. It's a program that I developed that's focused on the sustainable development of underserved farming populations. It's a participatory capacity building program, and we focus on the needs and challenges and developing solutions and engaging the underserved farming population in developing relevant education and training. I'd like to just reflect just a moment that we are all here today. And in this moment, we are talking about enabling change. And I would like to share with you the need I feel to promote and provide a wider social good strategy in climate change. And that social good strategy, I feel, could be implemented through participatory, the notion of participatory climate change initiatives that support sustainable development for all human beings. Our implementation efforts, I feel, must include racial equity and inclusion of Indigenous farmers, Black farmers, and farmers of color. What we generally call in the land grant system, underserved farming populations, also smallholder farms and in other categories of learning. But engaging these small farm populations in participatory climate change approaches that support well-being strategies that in themselves now support also the well-being of the farmers, but also the well-being of the soil, building healthy soil, healthy environments, promoting organic agroecology farming systems and those strategies, cultural management strategies. That this notion of well-being and participatory climate change strategies will support a healthier local and global food system and engage farmers in climate mitigation systems of practice that build healthier environments and healthier food systems, and that promote and enable local livelihoods. Looking at engaging farmers and their communities and promoting food security through the participatory climate change initiatives. And through those also engaging the community in support of climate change strategies and building healthier environments for not only then we're looking at engaging the underserved farming populations that are the largest farming populations in the world and even in the United States, but then promoting these systems for all human beings. And that is the work that I'm engaged in at Florida A&M University. That is the work that I'm engaged in at my own farm through capacity building workshops that we hold at the farm, as well as I serve on international and national boards to promote well-being strategies and organic agroecology management strategies that promote and mitigate not only pest damage, but climate change. Thank you.
That's Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. And we appreciate so much what you are bringing to this climate conversation because, as you mentioned, the well-being strategies are what we're really after, and finding examples of the ways of success stories in all of that and amplifying them and sharing them and helping to make a kind of a playful system for creating a sustainable, just, and peaceful future. So I'd like to just share that the mission of our Climate Collaboratory is to make this vision of the Earth Charter a reality. Let ours be a time remembered for the awakening of a new reverence for life, the firm resolve to achieve sustainability, the quickening of the struggle for justice and peace, and the joyful celebration of life. And so the way we're doing this is bringing children themselves and youth, adults, and elders. We're also inviting storybook characters and creating characters for ourselves to play, those who want to get into a play. We're really aiming for a musical play that will bring all of this to life that we can show in April for Earth Day 2021. So we are looking at taking a tour of the Florida universities and working with those counties that are already part of the Sustainable Floridian program that Jennison coordinates at its state level. And so we're just putting all the pieces in place so that we can play this, what really is the what Buckminster Fuller established as the world game in the 1960s. And he challenged his students to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest time possible through spontaneous cooperation. And we're adding on the whole community of life on Earth. And so this is the game that we're playing. We have many sustainable world games, as I mentioned. And so we are coming now into the, we are in the 100-day countdown to the International Year of Peace for 2020. And Ugoji, you were there for that one too, is that right?
Yes, thank you very much, Sue. Again, I was there. I think the UN is my second home. And again, on the countdowns for 2020, the theme is shaping peace together. At this juncture, I'd like to thank the Secretary General of the United Nations for his leadership at this particular point in time of the global pandemic, and also for his theme for this year, which he called for a global ceasefire. Now, there's more to peace than actually putting aside arms. Peace depends on societies being inclusive, healthy, and economically stable. It also requires a predictable climate, an unpolluted environment, and solidarity across community lines. Again, it's important to realize the importance of climate change. Now, on this countdown to the International Day of Peace, which is on the 21st of September, we should ask ourselves, what can we do to celebrate this day as we're counting down? First and foremost, I believe we should educate ourselves about peace. We should organize a UN 75 dialogue. This event itself, this discussion itself could be counted as part of it. And we should also engage in acts of kindness and solidarity, more especially so as regards COVID-19, which has exposed the fault lines in our societies and also our marginalized communities. I'd like at this point to thank Jennison Kipp for her contribution. I listened to it with great interest. And in view of this climate change, the UN, as I would say, is there's so much rhetoric, but we need to change rhetoric to reality. So following on for my high-level event on the 23rd, what did I actually do to move from rhetoric to reality? I formed a climate change initiative, which is called Renew Our Earth, and is actually for building back resilient communities. Again, I focused on Africa, the Caribbean, the small island development states, and least developed communities. Now, the mission of this health initiative, climate change initiative, was to mitigate disasters, to prepare these communities for disasters, and also they can build back and respond more successfully. And again, I'll invite you to visit the website, which is renewourEarth.com, and it's part of a climate initiative, and I'm not adverse to having collaboration and partnerships on this. I'm already in collaboration with the World Health and UN Water. So that is my contribution to making a difference in the world and from moving from reality, you know, from rhetoric to reality and to making a difference. Thank you.
So wonderful, Ugoji. Thank you. And so there we have the seed idea that we are growing, that Ugoji and I have talked about is the possibility of connecting our young people in Florida with young people in other parts of the world. And of course, she's most actively involved in Africa and the Caribbean. So we'll start there. And I know that we have a lot of work going on. Just earlier today, we had a humana tree planting in Kenya. And so we have tree planters all around the world. And one of our Sustainable World Games is the Trillion Trees Challenge. So even our president, Donald Trump, accepted the Trillion Trees Challenge, in essence, by committing the United States to help plant trees that are drawing down the CO2, which is a wonderful thing. And so what I'd like to do is just revisit that theme for this September 21st International Day of Peace. And again, as Ugoji told us, it's shaping peace together. And they call for the largest and furthest reaching global conversation on building the peaceful and prosperous future that we want. And so everything we've talked about today is part of that far-reaching conversation. So I bring in the words of the Earth Charter that says every individual, family, organization, and community has a vital role to play. The arts, sciences, religions, educational institutions, media, businesses, non-governmental organizations, and governments are all called to offer creative leadership. The partnership of government, civil society, and business is essential for effective governance. So here we go. We talk about using this COVID moment in 2020 as a turning point where we're finding ourselves in this space between two stories, one that we're moving out of. It doesn't seem to work anymore for us. So something new is emerging, and we are all part of that process. So I'm going to say that each of us has a role to play in this, and my personal commitment is as a person of faith. I believe that the miracle that we're living through is depends on each one of us acting with love in our own home, school, and community. And so I have been working with the Interfaith Climate Group on taking this climate conversation into our community in Gainesville, Florida. And we are supporting the city of Gainesville's climate emergency declaration. So I think, is Jennison still with us? She had a commitment. think Jennison's gone, yes. So Jennifer, maybe you could share a personal statement for us. Commitment.
Thank you. I'd just like to share that I believe that every moment that we have is an important one, and that we need to take that moment to make a good choice, the best choice that we have available to us. And that is something that I share with farmers as I work with them with their communities as well, to enable people to make the decision, so to speak, for climate change, for supporting initiatives that mitigate climate change, and for supporting initiatives that promote well-being of all human beings and that are inclusive of everyone, including Indigenous, Black, and farmers of color. And it's a good thing.
Thank you so much. Ugoji, would you like to make a personal statement?
Yes, I would, if you don't mind. First and foremost, as a woman of the African continent, of African heritage, I'd like to go back to the saying of Ubuntu. Now I quote, "One of the saying of our country is Ubuntu, the essence of being human." Ubuntu speaks particularly about the fact that you cannot exist as a human being in isolation. It speaks about our interconnectedness. You can't be a human all by yourself. And when you have all this quality Ubuntu, you're known for your generosity, end of quote. In the spirit of Ubuntu, we're all global citizens, and we need to adopt the African philosophy, namely, I am because we are all others. A person is a person through other people. Let us take on the issue of climate change. It is here to stay. The time is now. And again, as a person of faith, I'd like to quote from the Bible, which says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he has founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods." Again, the issue of climate change is here, and the time is now for us to act. Thank you. Thanks so much, Sue, and thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you, Ugoji. And Rick, would you like to do you have a personal statement to add, please?
Well, you know, I think for me, I mean, one of the reasons why I started We the World is because of this idea of bringing people together from around the world to solve our problems collectively. So it's, you know, it's all about we, right? And we consciousness. I think one of the lessons that many people have learned, and in fact, it's been in the headlines during the whole time of the pandemic, COVID-19 crisis, is how the survival of the entire community rests on the health and well-being of each member of the community. That's what we consciousness is all about. So we can extend that to the idea of climate, because as people are affected by climate in various parts of the world, we may look at that and say, oh, that's too bad. You know, there are wildfires in California, there are droughts in parts of Europe and in other parts of the world. In Africa, there are droughts, and then there's floods in Bangladesh and Sudan, and but ultimately it's important for us to realize that all of these things are happening and they actually affect all of us. And for that reason, it's so important for us to engage our leadership in politicians and CEOs of corporations, and engage them in this idea that we're all in this together. So, and I think that's the only way that we will solve this climate crisis, by all of us working on this, especially those who are in power, and if they begin to see the writing on the wall, so to speak, that it's important for us to consider the common good when we do any kind of legislation and policy, then that will be how we can come out of this and reduce our emissions by at least 50% by 2030, which is what the scientists say is necessary for us to have a livable planet. It's otherwise the climate crisis will become irreversible. So this is our moment to come together. And I also want to kind of say that this is, what we're doing here to create a peaceful, sustainable planet is not a spectator sport. We can watch these videos and listen to people talking, but it's really important for people to step up and get involved. And that's one reason why I encourage people to go to we.net/partner and collaborate with We the World on these activities that we're talking about. All of the 11 campaigns, not just environment, they're all connected. Peace, human rights, women, economic justice, all of these are connected. And so if you go to we.net/partner, you can actually sign up your organization to work with us, or sign up and join our We team as one of the volunteer coordinators. So,
Yeah. Thank you, Rick. Yeah. What I'd like to do is just show you quickly the homepage of our Gardens of Global Unity. And you see here we are. These are some of the characters, in our storytelling that we're bringing to the International Day of Peace. Right now we're following the road through 2020, and we're at the Garden of Environment right here. We have health, economic justice, women, children and youth, freedom, human rights, disarmament, and peace coming up. And so by using, planting seed ideas, using all of these wonderful themes, we are making a place where we can really grow some seed ideas from vision to reality in a wonderful way. And I'd like to just show, while we're talking about how you can participate, this too is a place where you can find your ways of participating, whether it's as a volunteer. You can sign up on this page. And the website is gardensofglobalunity.org. And so, certainly we need volunteers. We love partnering with organizations to see how we can work together. Some of what you've seen today is building these partnerships for wonderful collaboration. If you would like to donate, we have this particular flower is to donate to all the gardens, and each of the Gardens of Global Unity has its own little budget and its own donation page. So here we are in the Gardens of Environment. As you go through the 11 days of Global Unity, you may be inspired to help with some of the other campaigns. And it's just really wonderful to have you all here today. I thank you so much, Jennifer Taylor, for coming from Florida A&M University, Ugoji Eze from the United Nations, and Rick Ulfik from We the World.
Well, thank you. This is great. And thank you, Sue, for keeping this commitment going.
My pleasure.
So, okay, so onward to our next panel. There are plenty of things happening today, correct, Sue, for the environment. I don't know if you want to
Yes.
talk about
Oh,
any of
yes, of
those.
course. Let me, I didn't even think about that, but yes, let me pull up the Trello board and I'll share my screen again. So what's happening is we have several more events happening this afternoon and evening. So, oops, sorry. This is our 11 days of global unity that is working in collaboration with the Up Convergence. So really, this is where we tap into this network of networks in the movement of movements for a world that works for all. And so what we're doing today is just part of a very large and exciting ongoing event that's really gaining momentum and will carry us in. I didn't even mention that Ugoji has mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. And then we've talked about needing to reverse global warming. Well, I want to tell you that in our story, we're celebrating in the year 2050, the Earth's temperature coming back down. And in 2030, we have created peace on Earth. We have a lot of people working in this Up Convergence who are 100% sure that we can have peace on Earth by 2030. So I'm with them. I'll play that game. And in fact, I know we're in the middle of a miracle, so why not by 2030? Okay, so this morning we started with the Sages of the Ages. That's the elders who are helping to guide and nurture the children and their seed ideas. As I mentioned at 10 o'clock this morning, we created a new game that's going to be part of our Sustainable World Games. We have grandmother Shannon Crossbear does a little storytelling every day. There'll be another one at 11 tomorrow. Every day this week, the Humanity Foundation does a tree planting somewhere in the world, and they plant a human as well, not permanently, but just as part of the ceremony. And here we are now at our 11 days TeleSummit with all of the climate collaboratory. There is an Interfaith climate video. It's a devotional and climate conversation that will be on the Facebook page at 2:30. And then the power of our stories. I would really love to invite everyone to join us for that. I don't know, Brielle, can you put the link into the chat if people would like to see that? And then there's an open space at 7 o'clock tonight, and the Sages of the Ages will be doing a reflection circle on the day's activities at 8 o'clock. And so these are all available, and it's part of this wonderful 11 days of global unity. Thank you, Rick Ulfik.
Thank you, Sue. It's really extraordinary. And those times are all Eastern times,
Yes.
USA Eastern times. And I also want to thank Brielle for helping with this session today. And maybe we'll just end with our usual, our goal is to inspire, inform, and involve, 3 I's that make a we. And we're going from a me society to a we society. So thank you all. And I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and onward to the next TeleSummit at 1 p.m. On economic justice on September 14th. Bye-bye.